Ladies, gentlemen, bodies of water, welcome to the Alchemy Lab, and more importantly, the Alchemists Toolkit, where we talk about, well, all things DMing, really. This is sort of like your public service announcement for Dungeon Masters and Game Masters, where we give our little bit of insight into how to run an enjoyable, engaging tabletop RPG game. My name is Lee. I'm still Lee. We still haven't worked out an intro yet.
Nope. I'm Carl, and yeah, still Carl.
And I'm Matt, and I swear I own more than one shirt. I think I've worn this shirt for every one of these we've done.
This hoodie as well. This hoodie is a mainstay.
To be fair, people Hanneken, we record in batches, so it's quite easy to... what you think is several weeks apart is usually right next to each other.
Last week, though, was really funny, though, because we were trying to work out where we'd been in the last case of Streets of Mir. We'd done sort of the ending, and we were looking back through it, and I saw that I was wearing exactly the same hoodie and exactly the same jumper, and I was like, I'm going to have to go and change now. Like, it was like 2.5 weeks apart, but just somehow I just found myself.
The combo was the same.
I can't do this. They're gonna think I'm a...
My microphone attaches to a lapel. I have to have a lapel.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're off. We're tangenting already.
Tangenting already.
Should I leave this in this week, gents?
Well, what are we doing? What are we doing this week?
This week we're going to talk about. We've done our horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
The worst examples we've had of playing D&D or other games. So we thought we'd do the opposite this time. It's always nice to praise when it's worth it. So let's do the hero stories. And I'll start, actually. So this is a campaign that both of you guys are familiar with, actually. We were talking about just off camera before we started this one. The campaign itself has had some problems here and there, but for me, what the DM did at this point for me really was great. So I built a character, I had an idea for the character in my head and how I want to play. After a couple of sessions, I realised that actually it's not kind of what I want to do. It was not a great idea. The character was fine, the story was fine, but I realised I'd basically written the character at the end of a story rather than at the beginning of something new.
At the end of his story, then?
At the end of the character's arc, effectively.
Right, okay.
I'd written it, so the character was an very old dwarf who had a very complicated history. I won't go into it because there's a lot of backstory. But effectively, he was nearing the end of his life, and very specifically, the end of his story. I didn't know that at the time, but it very quickly became apparent to me that he was very much someone who was leaving, not continuing, basically. So I spoke to the DM, and part of our campaign was we had to go to what was a dwarven territory that my character had been exiled from to get some more information. While we were playing that, I said to the DM, like, hey, kind of want to get out of this character. Can we kill him off? Because I feel like he needs to die for his story to conclude. So we backed and forthed it for a few times, and we finally got to the session. We worked out a plan of action. I didn't know the specifics. All I got told was, by the way, can you build me a beefed up version of him? So he gave me a level to just create him again, but at this level and pick all his stuff for it. But, oh, okay, no problem. Did that, and we got to this point where we were all captured, and the whole party was imprisoned by a bunch of Duragar who basically.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, taken over the dwarven territories effectively, and my character's spirit was broken. Effectively, he'd lost all faith in. At the time, he worshipped the Raven Queen, but long story. But then at that moment, he realised he heard the voice of the forefathers from dwarves, and effectively led his people out of slavery. In essence, is what he became. He became a new hero to his people.
I remember this. Lee was the only one who fucking escaped that.
I did.
Yeah.
He was the only one who
again, because I was basically
Cassius.
Cassius, so I can get out of it. What Carl did was basically do like Thor's story arc from Endgame before Endgame came out.
Yeah, pretty much.
He wasn't as fat, but
no. But he wasn't old and very beardy. Effectively, he had a moment where he spoke to one of the gods of the dwarves and he realized that this was what he was here for, in long and short of it. And there was a statue of the dwarven god that had been broken by the Duergar in hatred, and they'd actually dug up an ancient dragon, its corpse, which had come to life, effectively. So, in a moment of desperation, the character picks up this hammer that is just a war hammer, nothing special, but is then imbued with the god's will. Effectively, Mjolnired that motherfucker, basically.
Yeah.
An epic fight ensued where everyone got involved. It was knuckle to the wire. I'm 90% sure as well that the DM fudged it to give the character the most epic ending possible.
Matt became a kaiju fighter.
Yeah, Matt became a kaiju.
Oh
He
yeah,
got in this-
I was
so
fighting
Got
in
the
a
mech
mech,
suit. Yeah,
Yeah.
the mech suit.
which I had to
But
take cover behind because
Yes.
it blew up.
Yeah, so again, effectively, by the end of the fight, I think, wasn't everyone, but I think me knocked down, I think, at the end, off the top of my head.
I was good.
Lazar
I
was
was flying around.
Yeah, but everyone was very low health at a minimum, I think.
So I was a kobold. I was Lazar, and
Yeah,
I was like popping out and healing wording you, and
Yes.
then popping back.
Yeah,
to avoid
it was
the
very much
AoEs.
effectively, he was like, keep him alive, keep him alive, keep him
Yeah.
alive. And he essentially let this character go out in a way that I hadn't originally planned, but made me feel like that story arc for him was complete. Because the new character I built was tied into it. Unfortunately, that campaign has died off by seems of things, so we never got into it. I still have that character sheet because I still like the idea for that character. But yeah, it was that thing of working with me to give me an ending to a character that I enjoyed making, but I'd realised that I should have made him earlier in his story and built him through it more, and I hadn't done that. But it gave him a conclusion that was still worthy of the character a little bit. So yeah, that's my hero story, and it's actually more of a DM hero story than anything else as well, because it was the DMs like agreeing to help me out with that basically, without breaking the campaign too much for everybody else.
That was an epic moment. That was really good, and it was a perfect send off for that character as well.
Just to get them to the end of the story, effectively he fought the dragon back into the mine pit that was opened up. And effectively Balrogged it with Gandalf. Like
That's what I was going to say. It was
a Gandalf moment. He took them both off the bridge, and they just fell. And no one saw him die, but it was just implicit that he had gone.
He's gone.
Yeah. But unlike Gandalf, he will not return as Valgrimmar the White. He's gone.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have 1.5.
Ooh, okay.
So I've got one as a player and one as a DM, and the one as a DM is actually from someone else doing something. So this was them doing something cool. Basically, accidentally blowing the plot wide open a little bit.
Okay.
But it was okay. So we got to the party that I was DMing for. They had basically been pointed in a certain direction by a character who I tend to reuse character names, and I reused. So this is Alvalon, the character. So we've met Alvalon in Streets of Myr. He was still a fallen Asimar actually. Now this is not going to be a spoiler for Streets of Myr, because in Streets of Myr this is not the case with Alvalon. But in this campaign, he pointed them in a certain direction. He'd been quite mysterious. He'd been kind of like disappearing from the camp and reappearing on occasion and being a bit aloof. And this character, the player had done detect magic, and partially because someone had found something, and Alvalon had found like a brick from a ruin, which should not have been there because this is supposed to be like a deserted island. So the character does detect magic, and there's magic in this thing. There's magic in this brick. It's trace of dragonfire. That's interesting. And Alvalon is like staring into a sun. He is just like full of magic, and so he's like, oh, that's odd, and he banks that for later. This character. So fast forward, they go investigate this wherever this ruin came from, where Alvalon's pointed them toward. And it's so you've encountered this in a one-shot that we did. It was they basically encounter a palace, like the ruins of a palace.
Mhm.
So the gardens are still very well kept, but there's basically no palace. It's all been kind of like leveled by some kind of attack, you would say. And so they go up and they talk their way into meeting someone from the so the queen is still in the palace, and they basically talk their way into meeting someone who is her rep, right? Because they rolled I think the face rolled really well, and I was like, okay, I'm going to reward this because you had a cool idea. You rolled, you've done really well. Okay, I'm going to reward ingenuity. Boom. So they meet with this steward, with some guardians, and the steward, they have a bit of a convo. There's a bit of lore from the island, and then he points them in a direction. The graveyard of kings and queens, again, which you two have encountered, which is like the graveyard, it's as it sounds, the graveyard of the previous kings and queens of the realm. And this character then says, oh, what god is that? What god is that dedicated to? Just because he was a cleric. So he's like, what god is that dedicated to? Just so I know, you know. And I was like, oh, this wasn't supposed to be revealed yet. And it went through my mind, and I think I laughed out loud. So I was like, oh, well, he wouldn't be evasive. Like, the steward wouldn't be evasive here.
No.
He has no reason to be evasive.
Nope.
So I just went, oh, Alvalon. Alvalon, the NPC that was radiating magic, turns out to be. We haven't gotten into this yet. This was very recent, so I'm not. Just in case any of you are watching, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Well done, Jack, for getting that. But it was just like, oh, and that was kind of like, it was like a double hero moment for him in a way. I think that was a hero moment.
Yeah.
Just asking the right question and going like, oh.
It's like, it's finding that bit of knowledge away of like,
yeah,
this guy doesn't make sense, and we now have a mysterious god.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
Yeah,
and
that's opened up possibilities here. So
I like that from him because it's clever, because it's one of the things where it's a very simple question that, to be honest, a cleric would legitimately probably ask who dedicated this to.
Yes.
But if he's got that bit of knowledge going, Alvalon's like staring into a sun.
Well,
that
I don't know
feels
even
a
if
lot of power.
I don't even know if he deduced it.
Maybe not.
He may have just asked the right question, but asking the right question.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Jack, if you're watching, comment, let us know. But genuinely, I'm not sure if he worked out that Alvalon was a god from that. He might have been, Alvalon's clearly powerful. Whatever's going on is powerful. But again, a cleric probably would ask.
I think
especially an ancient ruined place.
Yeah.
What god is this dedicated to?
It was all in logic. It was all in like, well, this would happen.
In alignment of what was happening.
Yeah. Yep. Because but so.
Yep.
And there we are. I was like, okay. So now this is altered the paradigm very slightly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ooh. And this is another thing I think we were saying before in the 2-player video. Don't be super precious about your story.
Yep.
Because something could happen.
And again, it comes back to that thing of rewarding the player.
Yes, absolutely.
He
and to be honest, they've
maybe
not
unintentionally.
They've not derailed it.
Clever.
They've not derailed anything. They've just added an element here that I was thinking probably wouldn't be revealed until a bit later.
Yeah, it's like, this is probably going to happen anyway, because at some point they did need to know this fact. But he's either intentionally or inadvertently cracked a big part of this thing open.
Yeah, bravo.
Carry on. You well played, and carry on.
Bravo. Yeah, bravo.
So has that storyline not finished with that group then?
Oh no. So this is a different group.
Okay.
And this is a multi.
I can't tell my hero story then.
Oh,
Because my
yeah.
story was gonna be from that storyline, and
Oh,
I'll glaze over it. Matt almost made me cry
oh God!
because I was so touched by what happened. We were all together, and so I was pretending to be someone, and then this thing happened. I said something. My voice broke. Like this like I get into characters, right? I get into characters, but not once have I gone, oh, something, and my voice is broken. I'm like, oh fuck! Like I'm like super touched by this moment. This is so cool. and
that was genuinely.
It was so beautiful. I think perhaps we'll have to do another like heroic stories of RP next time, so I can fully tell this story, because it is in that exact same world that this comes from, which is all part of sort of Streets of Mir and things like that. We played it as a one shot to just for fun. I think this was just to add a little bit more to it. It was nothing within any of the tiers or anything like that, but we were all together and we wanted to play sort of an extra game. So Matt gave this to us, and it is the one time that I have felt so touched.
We were all hit.
We all just got hit
moment,
like a ton of bricks right in the heart when it
that
happened,
and
it was goodness. Like it was, and again, it wasn't meant to happen. Like that point wasn't meant to happen. It was just supposed to be me and Grackers doing this thing in the realm of kings and queens. But again, someone has done the right thing at the right time, and it has made this situation happen, which is so incredible that honestly, my voice broke.
Again, that came from you asking
the right question.
Can we go see the Queen?
Yeah.
And me going, and then you rolled well, and I was like,
killed it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have this planned. I have this planned out. I don't have it planned out for linking to this, but let's do it.
I think something happened that we
threw him completely off track.
We kind of skipped, didn't we? We skipped a couple of steps, and I just gone, can we do this thing? And we were supposed to go somewhere else.
You didn't skip any steps. You just added a bunch more steps in between.
Of course we did, didn't we? No, we just added more steps to what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can we go see her?
See her?
I thought. Yeah, actually.
And then we went through the whole thing, and then I think we went back afterwards. I think this happened afterwards. We went back right at the end.
Yeah.
A certain thing happened.
We went back to them after something happened, and to confirm what happened, and the moment just broke.
Such a beautiful moment that I almost cried.
Yeah.
I like to be touched by stories. But I think what we need to do, I'm not going to ruin it for everyone who's playing this. It's a fantastic story. I hope you really enjoy it. But we'll come back with a part 2 on this, so I can actually tell the story in detail. Once
they have gotten past the point we want to talk about, we will go back and talk about another hero story.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? So only one of these was planned. Only one of these hero stories was sort of planned and sort of pre-checked before it happened. One that was pre-scripted. Only one of them was pre-scripted, but still
off the knuckle kind of pre-scription.
Still, the way it happened was very, very cool in that story. You know, this was supposed to be a grand fight. A lot of us were really having a hard time with it. I think I was only doing so well because I could basically fly around.
Yeah, you could just evade a lot of the fight.
I had this bat cape, so all I'd be doing was sort of sweeping onto the dragon, killing it, like hitting him, and fucking dipping.
Back out.
Like I was gone. Everyone else was on the floor.
I was
just
small enough
that fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say this one extra mini hero story for the comedy value alone. Speaking of Lee's cape in this thing, so This you can see Lee there. He almost spit take.
I know
So-
exactly what this is.
The first time Lee used this cape in this campaign, he's told how it works. Basically,
I think
in
it was-
dim light.
I think it was I think that was the first game that me and Matt played as well. I think that was
In
the
that
first
campaign it
session
was,
that we
yeah.
played.
you
Because
were
me
both
and Matt
given
came
these
in
things.
halfway through this campaign. Carl was playing with a couple of guys from his work, and we came in halfway through because we were all back in town, and Carl told us that there was a couple of guys that played D&D. Me and Matt were obviously like, yes, give me the D&D. And we went over and played that. So we got a few sort of magical items and things to sort of level us up in this.
Yeah.
And the guy who was running it, he was like, right, I'm going to give you this cape of the bat. Basically what it does, if you're in dim or dark light, you can fly around for a certain amount of time. You just need to, there needs to be a way to activate it. And I remember, what is the...
I feel like it was Bat.
It was.
Yeah,
It was Bat.
no, but what is the show called? It's it was from where they're vampires in New Zealand.
What we do in the shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows, yeah. And there was the guy who was in the IT crowd who was the boss. Like he was in it, and how he would turn into a bat he'd go bat, and like I just sort of took that into part of my character.
Yeah.
Anyway, Carl, please continue.
So we're doing part of the case. There's a body, the person been attacked, looking like a werewolf attack. but we're not sure. We're
Mauled,
investigating.
just
Mauled to
ripped
pieces.
out.
So
Yeah.
one of the things we do, we start following the tracks. We notice one of the tracks leads up onto the roof. So Lee, as Cassius, because that is how he plays everyone is always Cassius, climbs up onto the
Up on
roof.
the roof.
So start investigating, find out that there's nothing
Scratch
else that we can
marks.
see. The scratch
He's
marks, and it's launched. We can't find out where it's
Gone
at.
out of the city.
Too far. So Lee,
Somehow we're all now on the roof, aren't we? There's
No,
about
I
four
wasn't.
of us on the
Lazar
roof.
I was on the floor.
as well. I think I was there. I was on
So
the roof.
my character was on the floor, and
Okay.
because I remember this because I'm a dwarf, I can't climb up. That's nothing for me to climb.
Uh-huh.
So Lee, having forgotten the rules to his magic cape, forgetting the dim light minimum requirements,
Shouted bat.
goes right. I'm going to run towards the edge and jump and just shout bat. And the best bit for me was the look at the DM going, okay,
It's in the middle of the day.
but it's like it's midday, it's bright sunlight, and he just goes, and Lee just went, ah, shit. At which point the DM was like, okay, roll me a d20. I think you rolled pretty poorly.
No, I just went, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to roll.
Yeah, you
Please let me.
it.
Just tell me what happens.
Yeah. At which point that was it. At which point he goes, Carl, can you roll me a d20? I'm like, okay. I rolled I think it was a dex saving throw. He said, can you roll me that? Rolled it. I failed it. He goes, right.
Kill it.
So Cassius just drops on you from above. I'm like,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake.
And I think then I had to jump off the roof.
You had to
As
jump
Lazar.
off because I'd just
And
gone.
I rolled a nat 1.
Yeah.
And I landed on you.
we made
I landed
a
on Cassius.
we made a
Yep.
sentient being sandwich.
Pretty much. And it all came from the momentary lapse of Lee's memory, remembering it needed to be dim light.
Bat.
So we were just the bat.
It's bright light. Roll me a d20. I'm not going to do that, DM. No, I want to take.
I'm just
my
going
penance.
to take it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take my penance.
Okay, Carl, you roll a
You roll a
d20.
Oh, great. So I have to take some penance for your stupidity.
It's like, yeah, you invited him along, Carl. It's on you.
Yeah, kind of.
This is your fault, Carl. So.
You brought them into this, Carl. You can take a bit of blame for this as well. Fuck.
And while we're at it, we're throwing the kobold at you as well.
So what do we learn from this then? Because 2/3 of these have been completely unscripted, completely unplanned, and it's sort of right place, right time for these really cool things to happen. The first thing that comes to me is flexibility. Definitely flexibility in the things that you do.
Mhm.
We're probably going to say there's so much through the Alchemist toolkit that you need it's such a really good skill to be flexible in how you tell these stories. And if something is a bit out of left field and they sort of throw you a wild card, I'd be always more inclined to go, you can try, rather than going no.
Never
always try. Yeah.
Yes, as Matt said, reward ingenuity. They don't have to guarantee success, but if they're trying to figure something out, let them try.
Yeah.
If they get it wrong, they get it wrong.
There
If they get it right, well done.
there's enough skills in there for you to be able to go, you can try. You never have you never have to say it happens, and oh fuck, I've got to scrabble and work out how this works. You can go, you can try. I want you to roll a
XYZ,
perception roll, or a persuasion roll,
or
and then you can have a little think. Okay, what do they want to happen? That's your pass. What do they want to happen, but maybe something will happen? Just sort of set some arbitrary numbers in your head.
And
what's
again,
your pass? What's your hit? What's your fail?
And if you're not sure what the character is trying to do, don't be afraid to ask.
Ask them.
Because the only way you're going to know what they want to get out of this is to ask them. Because you could have that moment in your head of, oh shit, they're about to do something I hadn't planned for. Then you ask them, so what is it you're trying to do? What do you want? If you succeed, what do you want to get out of the
super important, Carl, actually, yeah.
And really they might tell you something you didn't expect, and it doesn't do anything to do with what you thought. It could be, oh, I want to check this because I think it's this. You're like, oh, okay. I now am panicked for nothing, because even if you succeed, it's not going to do what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to clarify with players what success to them looks like for a check.
You've done that with me in Streets of Mir.
Yeah. Because sometimes a player will do something that, as a DM who knows what's next, will go, that's exactly what they need to do. And start worrying that they've done something before you planned for it. And then you ask them, okay, what are you trying to get out of this then? Oh, I just want to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've done the right thing, but you don't want to do what I thought what you need to do. Right, cool, let it play.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day,
say the right thing, let it play.
Yeah. Everyone wants the same success outcome, don't they? Which is to progress the story. They're just introducing a new way of achieving that.
Yeah.
So, and unless they are someone who wants to railroad and make their own story, which again we've warned about, that can happen.
Yep.
So clarification is always good, but 9 times out of 10, people just want to progress the story. We want to see what happens next.
Yep.
We are invested in the story as players. We are invested in the story that you have created as a game master. But knowing the way that they're going to go is always useful. So you can go, okay, there's the branch that comes off, and now I can take them back to sort of base story at this point. This is how we can sort of get back on track after this segue, which will no doubt be interesting and perhaps make one of your players almost cry.
And in the case of the other situation, which was which is my hero story, which is a bit more planned, is if a player comes to you with an idea, don't shoot it down. Hear them out and work with them, because ultimately, if they are coming to you to talk about a story they want to tell, they're invested in what's going on.
They're invested in that big time.
If you've got that investment, that's the key. Work with them. If what they want to do maybe isn't going to work and will break something, say to them, okay, we can't do that way because it just won't fit. But what if we do this? Back and forth it with them.
Again, it comes back to that thing where we're collaboratively storytelling that we've spoken about. I reckon there's going to be like 3 to 5 rules that we have. Be flexible, bounce back off each other. Rule of cool. There's going to be these sort of ever-present rules.
They're all basically the core rule set of Alchemy.
Yeah,
indeed, coming soon.
Which I still haven't wrote. Now I can put it in my calendar. I can put it in my calendar. I'll do that now.
Do it now. But genuinely, when we talk about this now, the core rules we'll come back to is work with each other. It's collaborative effort. Rule of cool, within reason. Don't always let that ride because that can sometimes go over the top. But they're all basically what the whole reason that Alchemy exists is for those core rules.
Is to enable these kind of things to happen, to enable this flexibility, to enable this collaborative storytelling, to hopefully breed these really, really cool or touching or exciting moments to happen.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to let those moments happen, because some people play D&D for different reasons. Some people play D&D just because they want to have a power fantasy and kill things. That's fine.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
If you're playing with min-maxers, put them in battle.
Yep, that's what they want to do.
Put them in battle.
Put them in battle as much as you can bear.
harder and
they
more
want.
challenging enemies for them to optimize their characters.
Exactly. If you're playing with RP players, they want a story.
Yeah.
They want those emotional taglines. They want to feel something. The story that Lee speaks about that caught us all, and we all just went, "Oh!" That's what we play for. We want those moments.
And to be to have ingenuity in stories as well. They want several ways to eat the pie at the end of it.
Know who you're GMing for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Know your audience.
Know your audience.
All right, and on that, I guess there we go.
Where are you on Minds?
I'm I'm at Matt Waterhouse Author on Minds. Thank you.
Lee, where are you on Minds?
I don't know where I can also find this out, can't I? Really?
No, don't, because it's part of the bit now.
I don't know. You can try and find me on Minds.
Yeah. Carl, you're on Minds, right?
No, not at all.
Well, see you next time.
All right, bye. We're bad at the outro as well.
We are.
Yeah,
Only
we
on
need to
this
work
one
with
though.
this stuff.
Only on these videos.
Yeah.
On the other ones, we're fine. On these ones, we're just like.
Anyway, let's end it there, I think. Yeah.
This is us in normal life. See you later.
Bye.